This is Ryan Van Duzer, and you are listening to the GottaRunRacing podcast.
There.
Hello. How about that UTMB?
How about it? I was glued to YouTube. That coverage is incredible, number one.
Yeah, it's got really good.
Number two, I was glued. I couldn't turn it off, especially when people started crossing the finish line.
And Courtney DeWalter isn't just in another planet.
Unbelievable performance.
She beams herself down and
yeah.
just goes.
She looks so fresh at the end there.
Yeah.
Just smiling the whole time. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Unbelievable. It was so exciting to watch.
And what's in the water in France where the top 5 men from France come in? It's like,
exactly.
Whatever they're drinking, I want it.
Well, maybe they had the time off during the pandemic and all they did was train in the Alps because it was a pretty epic showing. And we might have a Canadian on a future podcast who participated this year.
Who just finished and can't wait to get her take on that.
Her?
Yeah.
Don't give it away.
Cool. So what's happening in the world of GottaRunRacing?
GottaRunRacing. Exciting. It's Island Lake Classic. We are in countdown mode this Labor Day Monday. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited about that.
And the Monarch's still going to be coming soon.
Yes. Monarch is less than 3 weeks away. The relay. Virtual is available still. And check it out.
Yeah. And we run the North.
Mm-hmm.
Still
heading into a new province, new park.
In a couple of days, actually.
What's today? 31st? Tomorrow.
Wow, new park tomorrow.
That's right. Don't ask me which one. I've been too busy doing Island Lake race stuff.
That's We Run the North virtual.
Yes.
And then our Rainbow is happening. Rainbow virtual.
Yeah, and Coyote virtual.
Mm-hmm. Jeez, all kinds of things going on.
Exactly.
Cool. So, who's on the podcast today?
Well, we got a goodie for you. Ryan Van Duzer from Colorado.
DuzerTV.
That's right.
If you ever check them out on YouTube, just punch in DuzerTV.
That's right. I'm sure you've watched one of his videos without even realizing it.
Yeah.
But he has quite the... It's funny because when I first started watching his stuff, I didn't realize he was so into cycling. I thought he was a runner first. But he is a runner first, but he's done tons of epic cycling, including riding from Honduras to Colorado. He's ridden across the states a few times, from Maine to Key West, Cuba.
The Great Divide. Then he's done Oregon to New York City. And
yeah.
Yeah, it just goes on and on and on.
It goes on and on and on.
And I just can't wait to hear all about it. And he just finished Leadville, which I can't wait to hear because Leadville has a place in my heart. So let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
Coming up.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Ryan Van Duzer.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Before we get into everything, I just want to give you a quick story about 5 or 6 years ago. I reread Born to Run. Mm-hmm. And I got excited again, so I went on YouTube and I started searching all these videos about the race down in the Carver Canyons and all that. And I came across a video about a bunch of friends who took a bus down to Mexico to do the Caballo Blanco Ultra. And at that time, there was a war going on in the canyons, and it didn't happen. And I thought that was just a cool documentary. And then 2 days ago, I happened to watch some of your older videos. And there it is, the freaking video that I saw 5 or 6 years ago. It was you.
Isn't that funny? You're like, oh, I just put it together. He's the weirdo that took buses all the way down there.
That was you. And here we are in full circle, finally getting to chat. And then it's amazing that I've actually been watching your videos for all this time, 5 or 6 years.
That's so cool. It makes me happy.
And I think that one of the first videos I ever watched was you at Javelina, because I went to Javelina in 2019 and did the 100K. So,
oh, you did? Very cool. That's one of my favorite races ever.
Right?
They do a good job with that race. It's a lot of fun.
They sure do. They sure do. For sure. So let's start at the beginning, I guess.
Okay.
And the beginning for you, aside from how you got into running, but the beginning for you was obviously getting into your YouTube channel. So you started in broadcast journalism.
Yep.
And can you tell everybody who hasn't heard the story how you transitioned from that into being the social media icon you are now?
I don't know about icon, but I'm getting there. Anyway, so yeah, I got a degree in broadcast journalism. Ever since I was a young boy, I loved telling stories, and I thought journalism would be a great place to learn and hone my skills in storytelling. And I did broadcast journalism, which essentially teaches you how to be like a local news anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And I did an internship at the local station in Denver. And it was fun and exciting to be like on a TV set, but it wasn't really what I liked. It was, if you watch local news, it's kind of depressing. It's sad. They report on a lot of just stuff that doesn't put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make happy news. I wanted to make inspirational news. And I didn't quite know what to do from there. So after I graduated college, I joined the Peace Corps and lived in Honduras for 2 years.
Nice.
Which was an amazing experience. I worked with at-risk youth. I've worked with Mexican immigrant youth for a lot of my life, and I loved the experience. And when I finished my service in Honduras, and instead of getting on an airplane and flying home like a lot of the other volunteers, I cashed in my ticket, bought a bike, and rode a bicycle home to Boulder, Colorado. And I filmed that adventure with my little Sony Handycam. And when I got home, I edited together like a little 5-minute, short teaser of the trip. And from that moment on, I was like, I want to do this. I want to travel the world and tell stories. And I want to show the audiences around the world how amazing people are. Really, I love connecting with the humans that I meet. It's fun to see beautiful landscapes, but it's really the people around the world that excite me. And so that's a very quick and dirty explanation of how I became a YouTuber and not a local news anchor. And so now as a YouTuber, I essentially document my adventures, whether they're running or biking, with the hopes of inspiring people to get off their couches and challenge themselves.
Awesome.
We're just starting out in YouTube ourselves. So what advice do you give to beginners like us who are just starting out? What's the one advice you can give?
I always tell people just to keep at it, because everybody gets excited. I'm going to be a YouTuber and I'm going to become big like everybody else. And then you make like 5 or 10 videos and they don't get many views and you give up. That happens a lot. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
It's just to stick with it. Like every single video you make is amazing, but the next video is going to be a little bit better, and then a little bit better, and then a little bit better. And I feel the same way about my videos today. Every video I make is a little bit better than the previous video. So you're constantly learning, and it's a really fun process. So yeah, you might not be getting the views that you're hoping to get, but you as a creator, as an artist, you are getting better at it. And that's great. And someday the audience will come. You make a video and it has your first video ever on YouTube and it has 10 views. But then those 10 people each tell one person. So your next video has a few more views. And then you up to 20, 30, 50, and it slowly builds. Like my first videos on YouTube did not get many views at all. And I put my heart and soul into all of them.
And you're wondering why?
Yeah, it was discouraging because why am I putting so much work into something that doesn't really have results, quantitative results? But really, you're getting better. You're becoming a better storyteller and an artist. And those are skills that I think, can help you throughout all different aspects of life.
Right.
Let's talk about DuzerTV then. So your first film you did was Honduras. How long after did you start making that part of your? I'm gonna make this my YouTube channel, basically biking across. What was your first one or the next one after Honduras, and how did that? Then you got the idea. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. So yeah, the first video was the Honduras video, And then I wanted to find a way to get paid to travel, essentially. So I think that's everybody's dream, right? And at the time, YouTube wasn't really a way to make money way back in 2005, 6, 7, at least for me. And so I worked for a local public access station here in Boulder. In public access, you've probably all seen Wayne's World. It's along those lines where everybody can have a public access show. Nobody's really making money on it, but it's just a way to practice your art, whatever you want to call it. And so my next video series was riding my bike from Maine to Key West down the eastern coast of the United States. And for that, I wrote weekly articles for the local newspaper in Boulder. So that's really what paid me, not the videos.
Right.
And for each article, I got $50. So I was rolling in the money, but it was a start. It gave me a voice. And again, it was practice. It takes time to get good at what you're doing. And then it takes time for people to say, okay, this would provide value to my magazine or newspaper or brand. I'll pay you X amount of money. And it takes a while to build up that name.
For sure. And speaking of bike adventures, and you've named a few, but so we'll transition now into some of them, but just for our audience who may not be familiar, you cycled across Cuba. You cycled from Boulder, Colorado to Burning Man, which was 1,000 miles. Yeah. You cycled from Vancouver, Washington to Cabo San Lucas?
No way, Canada.
Yeah. You rode a cruiser bike along the U.S., promoting bicycle advocacy.
Yep.
And that first ride was from Honduras was not just, I'm just going to ride home. It was 4,000 miles. Yes. 6,000 kilometers. Yeah. That's crazy. So how do you've done some pretty epic things, but how do you now choose the next bike adventure? Because obviously within North America and Central and South America, there's so many things you could do that for. And how do you choose? What are the parameters?
I try to choose things that I'm personally excited about and passionate about. I love Latin America. I love speaking Spanish. I lived in Honduras for 2 years. I've lived in Mexico. So when I'm in those countries, I feel alive, and it's fun for me to travel through those places. And you really get to meet the salt of the earth when you're just on a bike on little roads in the middle of nowhere, and you meet some farmer who invites you into his house and feeds you dinner, and you have these amazing connections that you'll never forget. So for me, I pick adventures that sound interesting and places that I know that I can learn something. Cuba was fascinating. You Canadians can get into Cuba no problem, but for us, it's always been an issue. So I always wanted to go to this, this place called Cuba that, our media has told us is bad and communism is bad. And, I wanted to explore what it was all about. And Cuba is one of the most fascinating places I've ever been. And I learned a lot about that country, and I learned a lot about the people. And it's a very gentle, kind society. And it's the safest country I've ever been to in Latin America, by far. I've traveled all over Mexico and Central America, and you're always looking over your shoulder because I've been robbed a few times in Central America, and it's very scary.
Sure.
That stuff does not happen in Cuba. And it's because of communism. If you do anything wrong in that society, you get punished big time. So people don't act out. There are big consequences for being a bad guy in Cuba.
How were you received there by the people?
They were all very curious about me. At first, they thought I was either European or from some other Spanish-speaking country because my Spanish is pretty good. But when I told them I was American, they're like, "Oh, no way! Let's sit down and have a talk." They have a lot to say. I stayed in Guantanamo one night on my bike trip with this wonderful family there. And obviously, Guantanamo is where the United States has a base. And they didn't have anything bad to say. They didn't rip on Americans. I don't think they love, what has happened between our governments and the sanctions. But they just wanted to know what life was like and what's it like out there. Because a lot of Cubans have, obviously, relatives in the United States. A lot of them do.
Yeah.
So they just, they know a little bit about the United States, but not a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fast. Every single day in Cuba, I stayed with a different family. That's just how you do it. You rent people's rooms for like $20. And so it was like I had a host family all the way across the country and got to meet all these wonderful people.
Did you get to see all the 50s and 60s American cars in Havana?
Yeah, it's great if you're a car buff.
Yeah, if you're into those cars, I mean, it's like being in an open air museum. It really is.
Amazing.
All the cars, all the buildings are old and classical looking, and it's fascinating. It's like going into a time capsule.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our favorite video is when you went from Oregon to New York City because you spent 200 miles going through Canada.
That's right.
Stopping at Tim Hortons and then Niagara Falls. And have you ever thought about doing the Trans-Canada Trail?
I have. I think that would be amazing. It would be beautiful. So much beautiful country, but also, it's nice and long. It'd be a good, like, full summer adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to lots of places in Canada, but I'd love to travel a little bit more up there.
Well, if you ever do the Canada Trail, we'll definitely through Toronto we'll hook up and we'll follow you along.
We'll find you places to stay for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be amazing. All the Canadians I've ever met are really amazing. And if you've been watching some of my videos, I've been traveling with a Canadian guy here and there who has a dog with him. And, he's become a fan favorite on my channel. They live in Canmore.
Oh, okay. Yes. And I also wanted to mention
Terry Fox. Terry Fox is my favorite Canadian.
That's what I was just going to say. I appreciated your ode to Terry when you were talking about,
on the trail
and what he went through. And obviously to runners and non-runners, he is our biggest hero because you think about what he did and it's just unfathomable. Even as ultra runners, I can't fathom it.
It's really incredible. And a lot of Americans don't know that story.
It's true.
It's kind of a Canadian thing. And luckily, I don't know how I found out about it, but it's definitely one of those stories. Every time I watch any snippets of footage from it, I get tears in my eyes.
Exactly. Me too.
Well, because of Terry Fox as a runner, let's get into running.
Yeah,
let's talk about running.
Let's do it.
So when or why did you start running?
I have been a runner since I was a little kid. Everybody goes to my channel and it's a lot of bike packing, but really running is my favorite sport. Mm-hmm. And I started running at an early age, and I don't really know why, but I was good at it. In gym class, I was always the fastest kid, and it's fun to be number one. And I remember our little elementary school had a yearly race in May called the Mile Marathon. And it was a 1 mile race. And I took that race as seriously as an Olympic athlete would take the Olympics. And I trained and got ready for it. And, it was really important to me to win that race. And so from that point on, I just loved running. And when I was younger, I was way more competitive. Like, it was all about winning through middle school and high school. But then I stopped winning. I wasn't as fast. Other kids caught up to me, And from that point on, running for me has just been a way for exercise, to explore, to be out in nature, to connect with myself, to connect with other runners. I love the energy at races. You all know this. It's supportive and fun. It's like a big family.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful that I've been a runner ever since I was like 5 years old. Right. I didn't get into ultras until about 2013. I had done a few marathons. I'd done the New York City Marathon and the Copenhagen Marathon. And that was, hard. That seemed to me like as far as I ever needed to go, 26 miles, 42 kilometers. And then I went to Burning Man. And Burning Man's a big festival type thing out in the deserts near Reno, Nevada. And they have an ultra marathon out there called the Burning Man Ultra. And I ran that race. It was only a 50K, so not much further than a marathon, but I loved it. And I loved, again, it was the people and it was the culture behind it all. And that really just sucked me in. And then I met these ultra runners that do all these other races. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll come to your race over here and I'll try this race. And then I read Born to Run. And Born to Run inspired me to want to go down to the Copper Canyons and run the Caballo Blanco race.
Right.
And I ran that race. And that, for me, that was 50 miles. And that was like, oh my God, this is going to be the craziest day of my life. I can't imagine running 50 miles, but I did it and it was awesome. And then my friends at that race were like, well, now you have to try a 100-mile race.
Of course.
And I was like, no, that just sounds crazy. 100 miles, that's too much. But, 6 months later, there I was on the starting line of the Javelina 100. And yeah, the rest is history.
Were there any surprises in your first 100-miler that you weren't expecting or
at Javelina?
At Javelina?
Yeah, Javelina. I was the first 50 or so miles, I was happy and jolly. It's all in the video. And then I kind of hit a wall. And what was hard for me and what I didn't realize is that you really have to constantly be eating the whole time. And I wasn't doing that because there were many times where you're just not hungry. But if you're not putting calories into your body, you bonk and you just hit the wall. And that's what happened to me in my first 100. And it became a death march very quickly. And it's hard once you hit that to recuperate and get the calories back in and get your body recharged.
Yeah.
But another great thing about the hundreds is that there is time to recover. It's such a long race. There's so many hours involved that, yeah, you can have a really bad 10 miles, but you can also recover and finish strong.
Right. Yeah.
Would you ever wear a full costume at Javelina one day when you could go back?
I never have worn a full costume. Yeah, no, I haven't worn a full costume, although I should. That race is all about costumes and fun.
It sure is.
Well, you went from the desert of Leadville or Javelina to the mountains of Leadville. What made you choose Leadville? And I'm wearing a Leadville hat for you.
I saw that. I love it. Leadville. You're wearing clothing for my two favorite races. Leadville was again, going back to Born to Run, the book, Leadville was always this iconic race. Yep. And it was almost mythical. When you read it in this book, it's like, whoa, I got to do that someday. And it's a home state race. It's a few hours away from Boulder. I don't need to fly an airplane to get there. So it was nice to do something close by. And that's kind of why I chose to do Leadville. And also challenge myself with a mountain ultra, to see how I could do up at high altitude. The entire race is above 10,000 feet. And that presents a lot of challenges. And,
sure does.
That's essentially why I did it. I wanted to just see what it was all about, see what Hope Pass was all about, and feel that energy.
Well, you were smart to go to the training camp because that's when I first did Leadville because of Born to Run. I DNF'd in 2010, and then I got smart, and then it took me 4 years to go back. But I did the training camp first because I wanted to be able to run with people who actually finished this race. So what was your strategy going into the camp of Leadville?
Yeah, the camp was great. Again, just like you, I knew that I needed to see some of the course to get some miles on my feet and meet other people. And that really was the best part, was meeting all the other people. And again, it's the energy, it's the fun, it's the support you get. And so the camp to me, I think, was invaluable in learning to see what the course was like, but also realizing, okay, this is the real deal. You need to train a lot for this race. The rest of the summer, this is a focus right here.
I was able to run with two-time winner Lynette Clemens. Actually, she won in 2009 and 2011, I do believe. So I ran 50K with her, and all I did was pick her brain. For 50K, cool. Just picked her brain. So I shout out to her. Thanks.
Yeah. And there are some pretty amazing runners that go to the camp that are all about just helping you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So take us to the day of how did you feel going to the start line of Leadville? Let's get Leadville on.
Yeah, Leadville was just about 9 days ago. Yeah, so I was excited to be up there. I loved the expo. It was fun to see everybody. Those mountains are beautiful in the summertime, and I was I felt like I was in pretty darn good shape. I had run quite a bit. I had biked quite a bit, which that doesn't necessarily translate into running, but my body felt like it was in really good shape. And, I got to that start line and it was cold. What I love about Javelina is that it's not cold. I love warm weather, and it was so cold the morning of the race, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. But just like the start line and just the sea of people and all the headlamps running by, it really was a magical experience. And for the first, 50, 60 miles, I was in pretty good shape. Like, I felt great. I was talking to people. I was running with my camera. I was filming, going through the aspen trees, and just loving all aspects of the course and the beauty. And, going into Twin Lakes was insane. I had no idea that was going to be such a raging party.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the Tour de France when you're just running through tunnels of people just screaming at you. And I feed off that energy. I love that energy so much. And it was great to have my crew up there, my mom and my close friends, Dana and Xantha. And then Hope Pass is really when things got hard for me. I was like, oh, man. This is
what
really
people
steep.
talk about.
Yeah. Hope Pass was rough, but it was really cool. There's the aid station halfway up where the llamas carry all the gear up there. So it was fun to have a little bit of energy up there and some food. And then Hope Pass is just stunning when you're up there. You want to hang out and catch the view, but you got to keep running. So yeah, up and down Hope Pass was great. And then coming back up and over was a grind. And then by about mile, 70-ish, 75 is when I really started kind of hitting the wall. All the downhill, like the hard pounding of running downhill just did a number on my quads.
Yeah.
And by mile 75, like I know my body well enough. I was like, this is going to be a long march to the finish line. And it certainly was. Luckily, I had Darcy PQ with me, who's an amazing runner. And she took good care of me, made sure that I had all the nutrition that I needed and kept me moving. And man, seeing that finish line at 4 a.m. was a beautiful sight.
Wait a minute, though. I think you skipped.
It felt so good.
You skipped one of your other pacers there.
Oh, yeah. Amelia Boone. Yeah.
How did that happen?
How did I forget her? Well, yeah. So Amelia got me right after Twin Lakes.
Right.
And at that point, I still felt pretty good, and it was light out, and I could actually run, and we were just chatting and having a great time the whole way. So I'm very fortunate that I had 2 amazing women on my team that day to keep me going.
I want to ask you about, what did you find harder, going back up Hope or back up Pipeline?
Oh, I would say back up Hope was harder for me.
Really? I found Pipeline.
That backside of Hope is so steep, way steeper than the front side, and that wrecked me.
Yeah.
And then it was like getting cloudy and thundery, and a little bit of rain was coming down, and I was like, oh, this could get ugly pretty quick. But yeah, going back up Pipeline also is very steep, but it's so much shorter than Hope Pass.
True. And what was it like having the Anton Krimitschka? How was it like seeing him after so many years of being absent from the ultra scene?
It was cool. I was coming down Hope when he was going up, and it was good to see him. And he was not wearing a shirt, and it was cold. I was wearing a long sleeve, and he's cruising up with no shirt on. He's like, "Hey, Duzer, what's up?" And I was like, "Wow, he looks a-okay. Like nothing has fazed him at all." It was really cool, and I think everybody loved seeing him out there again. That was exciting for sure. And he's a Boulder guy, so it's fun rooting for a local friend. And I think he inspired a lot of people by getting back after it after such a long time off and injuries. And he's been spending a lot of time cycling as well, which is cool to see.
My experience with Anton is when I was going up Hope and he was running down, and he almost knocked me off the mountain.
Oh, really?
He gave me one of a side body check.
Like, get out of my way. Yeah. Well, he did that because you're Canadian, and he expected you to, you can take a couple checks because everybody's a hockey player, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to see. Everyone just got out of his way and said, "Good job, keep going." So obviously, yeah.
So what's next, Ryan? What have you got on the agenda?
I don't know. I'm already dreaming of doing Leadville again, which is funny because in the moment, like those final 20 miles, I was like, I'm never doing this again. This hurts so bad. But now that I have, a week away from it, I'd love to go back and really finish in a way that I think that I'm capable of finishing,
Right.
a much stronger race.
I was wondering if you ever think about, I know you probably don't, but just as a racer, your time, because you do a lot of filming along the course, and then you're thinking, oh, I just got over 24 hours. If I just didn't film this section, I know that has to play in your mind. Come on.
Definitely. Yeah, no, also, I went the wrong way for about 2 miles.
Oh, no.
So that was 20 minutes right there for sure.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It was right after half pipe, and I was talking with somebody and just not really paying attention, looking at the ground, and I'm running. And then I all of a sudden noticed there was nobody around me, which is not like that rare. Sometimes there are moments where there's nobody around. And I was like, I look at the ground. I didn't see a lot of footprints on the ground. I was on like a Jeep road, so it was wide. And I kept running. And I'm like, maybe I'm going the right way. I'm just in a pocket of no people. Ran a little bit more, and I was like, nah, I think I went the wrong way. So I turned around and ran all the way back. And then I finally did see the turnoff to the left, and I saw other racers coming, and I was like, oh, man. So mentally, that was a little bit hard to get over. It's like, I just made this hard day harder.
Well, your time was very respectable considering.
Yeah, it definitely was. Luckily, I went out fast enough that I walked the final 8 miles completely. Walked. Didn't run a step. So I'm very happy that I still got a big belt buckle. But yeah, people ask me all the time about filming. Like, you could go so much faster if you weren't goofing around the whole time. But I kind of like it. I like it. In a way, it takes my mind off the pain when I'm either talking to myself on the camera or I'm interviewing other people.
Right.
So in a way, maybe it doesn't slow me down all that much.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Are there any other bucket list races, either in Europe or the States, that you've eyeballed, or is it just based on whatever you feel like doing at the time?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I'd love to do some of the iconic races out there. I'm all about natural beauty, so I would love to go to some of the races in Switzerland or Italy or even in Sweden and just run around those mountains.
Yeah.
UTMB would be amazing. I love the desert. I really love the desert. So I'd like to try some more of the Era Viper races in Arizona.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be back at Javelina Jundred someday.
What about Marathon des Sables?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Through the Sahara Desert. There's a lot of races popping up in Mexico, other ultra marathons all throughout Mexico. I love Mexico with all my heart. So any excuse to go travel somewhere cool and then run is kind of like how I pick my races. And I'll definitely go back and do the Caballo Blanco. I've done that one now 4 times. I love the people down there. I love the culture, just the energy around that race. I brought my mom to that race in 2020, right before the lockdown and the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really cool. I love sharing those experiences with people that I love.
Did you get to talk to any of the Tarahumara runners in depth, or was it just curious? Yeah.
I've gotten to know some of them throughout the years, and I see the same ones. And we recognize one another now. And yeah, I've talked to some of them, and their lives are, so there's there's the Mexicans who live in the town of Urique. And then there's the Tarahumara who live in all these villages spread out throughout the canyons.
Right.
And they're pretty different. Like the Mexicans who live in Urique, have pretty normal lives. They have 9-to-5 jobs. They have houses with electricity and TVs, and the kids have video games and stuff. The Tarahumara, it's much more primitive living.
Right.
Some of them live still in caves out there, and their typical dress that you see them is what they wear every day. That's not like a fancy suit they put on to run. Yeah. And they all wear the sandals made of the car tires and leather. And so I've gotten to know a little bit about them and their lives. I've gone now 4 times, and I've gotten to go to some of their homes and seen what they're like. And living in Honduras for 2 years, there's a lot of similarities between the people I work with in Honduras and the Tarahumara. And it's a fascinating culture, but it's definitely, they struggle. It's been a hard 5 years for them. There's been a lot of drought.
Right.
They're not having the corn yields that they're used to having, and so it's tough for them down there. And so this race, the Caballo Blanco, really boosts the local economy in a big way, but also the way that Micah True, Caballo Blanco, set it up is that every runner who runs that race, the Tarahumara, they get corn vouchers. So when they finish the race, they get like a pretty hefty amount of corn that really helps them out with their families throughout the year. And so you'll see grandmas who are 65, 70 years old running in dresses down there because they know, like, if they get to that finish line, actually, you don't even have to finish anymore. You can get to certain checkpoints and you get like a wristband, and each wristband correlates to a certain amount of corn vouchers. So it's important for them. It's a big deal.
Well, before we let you go, where can everyone find you on your social channels or your website? We'll give you a little.
Yeah, I guess if you just Google my name, Ryan Van Duzer, most things will come up. My Instagram is @Duzer, DUZER. Where I put most of the stuff that I care about is YouTube, and that's DuzerTV, DUZER TV. But again, if you just put my name into Google, it'll start popping up.
Cool. And before we let you go, we do a little rapid fire at the end of our chat. So if you don't mind,
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yes, no, yes, yes, no.
You got them all right.
Yay!
In that order. Okay. 80s or 90s music?
80s.
80s.
Yeah, big time. I love the 80s. I've been super nostalgic for the 80s lately. I love it.
It's the best decade for music, hands down.
Yeah.
Have you lost a toenail running?
Oh, yes. Many.
You're one of those.
Javelina 100. Javelina 100. At the end of that race, it's dark and there's so many rocks out there. I've kicked so many rocks because you're not lifting your legs up as high. And that's really when it happens to me.
It's the only race I've ever been to where they had, I think she called herself a foot fairy. It was a retired nurse. And that's the first place I went when I stopped that race. I walked right into her booth and I'm like, please help me.
Yep. My feet look like hamburger after that race.
Me too. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Easy.
Tim Hortons or Starbucks?
Oh, Tim Hortons all the way.
All right. Let's say a team sport you'd like to excel in.
It sounds funny, but American football.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
Ooh, I would like to be like the time, like castles. I want to live at the time of castles and England and horses and armor, and I think that's a crazy time.
Oh,
500 years ago.
Yeah.
So in the time of COVID, when we haven't really been traveling that much, where's the first place you'd like, if assuming you haven't, but outside of the US, where's the first place you want to travel to?
I would like to go, speaking of England, I want to go to England and ride my bike the length of Great Britain.
Wow.
Oh.
I was supposed to go there in 2020, but it obviously didn't happen.
Oh, man.
And I haven't been anywhere international since. So I want to ride the length of Great Britain. That's my first travel whenever I can do that.
That would be epic.
Please let us know. We may even just fly over and bike some of it with you. Who knows?
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Wait, there's no more? That was fun.
You got to get some more videos out there.
He doesn't have enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you so much.
No, it was wonderful to meet you. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I wish you all the best.
And please stay in touch. If you are going to come and do the Transcan, we will absolutely do whatever we can to help you out along the way.
That'd be cool. I'll let you know for sure.
And whenever we're in your town, you have to show us where you get the best bean burritos.
Oh, for sure. Well, and there is a Duzerito at the cafe I go to all the time. There's a menu item named after me.
No way.
Duzerito.
I hope you get royalties on that.
No, but $1 from every burrito goes to a foundation that gets kids on bikes.
Wow.
Fantastic.
That's
So
great.
it's very cool.
What's the name of the restaurant?
called the Walnut Cafe.
And that's in Boulder.
That's in Boulder, Colorado. And if you watch a lot of my videos, you see a woman named Dana in there a lot, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So Dana owns the Walnut Cafe.
Perfect.
We'll definitely
Love
put a
it.
plug on her.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. There we go. Ryan Van Duzer.
Yeah. How could you not be upbeat listening to that guy? Such a positive influence.
Yeah, and he started his channel 15 years ago, and I've been watching him for 5 or 6 years, not even realizing who he is until finally, hey, you know what, just get him on the podcast, and then, hey, you're the guy I've been watching all these years.
And I think that's genuinely him, too.
Yeah.
You know?
What you see on the
What you
videos
see
is what you get.
Is what you get, obviously.
Yeah, and we watched him because we did Javelina, and then we watched him because he did Leadville, but now we're getting a little spark. Maybe we should start biking. Tandem.
Yes, because if you know me, you know I'm not a cyclist.
But
But
there
I
you
like
go.
the adventure.
Yes,
I like
of course.
the idea of the adventure.
That's
so
what it's all about. Get off the couch
Yeah, that
and adventure and see-
travel and meeting new people.
Yes, it's all there. There you
Absolutely. Well, that was pretty cool. So if you want to get the full version of our chat with Ryan, check out our podcast.
go. In the links below. Cheers.